All right. I believe we are live. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Orlando Magic Daily Live NBA Draft Lottery Spectacular. My name is Phil Prosman-Reich, sporting my Fulham colors and my Magic hat here for the NBA Draft Lottery. For the next, we're going to be talking all about the Orlando Magic, their future, what's going to be happening. The NBA Draft Lottery, which starts, the show starts at 8:30. The actual lottery is going to take place sometime in the 8:30 to 9 o'clock hour. We'll have live reaction to that as we get going with the show. If you're watching on YouTube, you can of course comment on the live chat here on the right. If you're watching anywhere else, you can try and interact with the show some other way, but that's probably the best way. There's probably some reverberation because I'm trying to keep track of the live chat, and now I'm playing in the background. I apologize. Let's introduce our panel for today, our Magic panel. We're first going to be joined by our pal from Orlando Pinstripe Post, Cory Hutson. Cory, say hi to the people.
Hi to the people. Good to see you all, sort of. Not really, but you can see me.
Yeah, and that's the most important part. We also have from Orlando Magic Daily.
I am here.
Okay, there we go. Technology, it's fun. Zach, say hi to the people.
Hey, how you doing, everybody? Excited. Let's get number one.
Yeah, hopefully 8.8. 8.8 is the number today. 88 number combinations. And, of course, we're joined as well by David Iwanowski of Orlando Magic Daily. David, also say hi to the people.
Hi, people.
Awesome. Now that the introductions are out of the way, of course, the NBA Draft Lottery is the focus today, but it's been about a month since the end of the season. We've had some time to digest some things, and I kind of want to know what your big takeaways are from the season and the direction that the Magic have to go to move forward now. Cory, you were at the Amway Center a lot with me throughout the season. When you look back at the season, what's kind of your big takeaway?
Well, obviously the season was disappointing on a lot of levels. The Magic weren't nearly as good as we thought they were going to be. They were much worse at certain things that we thought they'd be good at, namely their defense was a train wreck when we actually expected to be all right. And really the team, they just didn't work. They didn't make sense. Nothing fit together. Got a little bit better after the trade, but not that much. Really moving forward, it's just about figuring out a way to make the franchise make sense, and that's both on the court and off the court, because everyone knows the Magic has a number of organizational issues as well that they need to take care of. So that's the main priority, just trying to make everything work and then work on getting good from there.
Yeah, and I think that's definitely definitely the big takeaway, as everything seemed to go to hell, for lack of a better term. David, Cory mentioned it a little bit. After the All-Star break, things did seem to get better. What that gives you hope heading into this offseason that things are kind of starting to head in the right direction, or are they not?
I mean, like, their playing style is heading in the right direction. I mean, they're going smaller, they're going faster, they're shooting more threes, it seemed like. So that's a positive. As far as roster talent, I'm not sure that's going in the right direction, or that was at least. But at least with the style of play, it seems like they're becoming more of a modern team, which is a good sign, definitely.
Yeah, and obviously that was kind of the big theme after the season. Zach, you've kind of been our go-to guy talking about kind of the culture and the process that this team has gone through. Obviously hit a dead end here, and they fired Rob Hennigan. What did you see at the end of the season and from the season at large that you can kind of take away and build from as we begin the offseason process here?
I think the big thing is just a takeaway. I think what you were talking about earlier was just they need to keep up the pace. The pace of the team they need to be an up-tempo team with who you have now. Aaron Gordon's probably your only player right now on your team that you're like, yeah, we probably want to use him in the future. Everyone else is kind of, whatever. And I think Aaron Gordon's most effective when he's in transition. And if you want to keep some of these, I guess, minuscule kind of players, you got Elfrid Payton, better when you up the tempo. Terrence Ross, pretty effective when you up the tempo. Bismack Biyombo, you don't want in the half court, so definitely better when you up the tempo. So I think that's just the main thing to take away from the season, because honestly, most of it was a throwaway. That was probably the biggest dead season the Magic have had since the season Jock Vaughn got fired.
Yeah, and certainly the lack of continuity is a huge issue for this team. Having 4 coaches in 5 years or 3 coaches in 4 years is a huge detriment to the team. Evan Fournier actually brought this up. He's had a different coach every single year of his career, which is not conducive to a winning program. And obviously, the Magic are trying to get back into the playoffs. It's been 5 years, the longest drought in franchise history, and it kind of feels like this is certainly the lowest that the team has ever been at as far as a franchise goes. But what direction do you see the team heading in the future? Who on this roster, to you, is the guy that they absolutely must keep? Let's start with David.
I mean, the only one I can really think of is Aaron Gordon.
Do we all agree it's Aaron Gordon? let's throw that out there. As Aaron Gordon, the keeper on the team.
Guys, Mario,
pretty much.
Is Mario Hezonja? Come on.
Mario Hezonja.
Are we talking about the same Mario Hezonja? Is there another Mario Hezonja that I don't know about?
The one I have on
workout Mario Hezonja.
The one I have on 2K is pretty good.
Yeah.
Let's get that guy.
So I mean, obviously, Aaron Gordon is kind of the centerpiece, if you want to call it that. At the 4, I mean, there's not a lot of power forwards at the top of this draft, but is Aaron Gordon at the 4 really the only position that you feel in stone for this team?
I think so. I mean, if they get the first pick or a top pick, they're probably going to look to get a new point guard. The point guard we've had so far has not been working very well. They're probably not going to get a center, I would assume, early, considering they have still 2 centers left who can't play on the court at the same time. So it's probably either going to be a point guard or some sort of versatile wing like a Tatum or Isaac, maybe Jackson sort of guy that could work with Gordon, that they could kind of switch off who's the 3, who's the 4, depending on certain situations, depending on offense and defense. But yeah, I would say like kind of shy away from big men, definitely.
Cory, what do you think of the roster makeup as it's? Oh, sorry.
No, you're good.
Cory, what do you think of the roster makeup as it stands right now? How do you what do you see as the first place for this team to go to kind of start taking those steps forward? Is it a matter of this what you do with this first pick dictates the 5th pick or whatever it ends up being dictates what you do the rest of the summer, or how do you go about beginning to rebuild this roster?
Well, the Magic have always demonstrated a propensity to take the best player available. Whether that continues under new leadership remains to be seen. The message from Alex Martin and the rest of the front office seems to be that they're still in win now mode. So maybe that colors some of their decisions. Maybe they go for an older player with more experience who can affect the team right away. Personally, that's not what I'm hoping for. I'm not really looking at particular positions so much as just skill needs, adding shooting to making to the team, a ton of needs, so it's hard to really narrow it down. But that's the way I would think about it, because really, if you find a quality player, you can find a way to make him work on this roster. Nobody is untouchable except for maybe Gordon, like we talked about.
Yeah, and Zach, how do you address that? How do you approach, I guess, looking to improve this team? Does this draft pick kind of set the tone for the rest of the summer? Does this first pick, not obviously, I mean, obviously they have other picks, but does this first pick set the tone for the rest of the offseason in the direction that whoever the new president of basketball operations is goes?
I think it does. And again, a lot of that's what's going to pretty much depend on where they fall. But like, this team has a lot of issues. And I think this initial high draft pick is what's going to set you up to how you're going to game plan the rest of your offseason. So, you say you go point guard early, then you're probably not going point guard in free agency, but you're probably going to end up trading out for Peyton away, if that's a guess. Or if you go small forward with like Tatum or Isaac, you're probably going to shy more away from that in free agency, and you will vice versa. You're going to go for a point guard. So I think it does set up the rest of the offseason. And I would hope that the rest of the draft picks are also planning on being used for players that are going to play now and not players that you're going to develop for a couple of years. But we'll see what they decide to do. If they even keep all those picks.
Yeah, and it kind of feels like when we look at this draft that, and let me know if you guys agree with this, that the reach that the Magic are going to make is going to come with this first pick, and it's probably not much of a reach because there's so many good players at the top of this draft. With the 25th pick in the draft, which they got in the Serge Ibaka deal, the 35th pick in the draft, and if it comes to it, the 33rd pick in the draft, the Magic are going to look for guys that can contribute more immediately and be part of the team. It's more at that point about finding guys that can supplement and fit the roster better. And obviously, I think we all kind of recognize the Magic need a lot. David, entering this offseason, before we start diving deeper into the draft prospects, what is the biggest need the Magic need to address, either through the draft or in free agency? Or trades?
I mean, everything. But overall, I would say someone who can, from the wing at least, create a shot. And there's no one on the team I can really trust to create offense. And that's why the offense has been so bad over the past few years, especially last year. I think they really need a guy who can create his own shot. I guess through the draft, like some of these point guards, they're pretty good offensively. They could create their own shot. Guy like Tatum possibly, or even like an Isaac. Something like that, but they definitely need someone who can create offense because, I mean, offense is so important and they don't have that at all, which sets them way behind in the league.
Zach, is this, I mean, the way the Magic built last year was obviously all about defense. Is this a summer where the Magic need to kind of catch up with the times and really focus on their offense? Because I've kind of been working under a theory now that in today's NBA, and maybe you can assess the statement, in today's NBA, it's better to acquire offense and coach defense, whereas maybe 5 years ago when Frank Vogel was coaching the Pacers team that he likes to talk about a lot, it was easier to find defense and coach offense.
I don't think that's necessarily true, but I think you have to have a good balance, and they didn't have any balance at all last year. And even the guys that were supposed to be great defenders, like Serge Ibaka, was pretty brutal on defense last year. Didn't guard a stretch for, I don't know, all year. I can't remember one that he really did a good job defending. Biyombo was, I would say, well under expectations as far as the defense was concerned. Alfred Payton was under it. So, I think if you balance out offense and defense, you'll be fine. I think last year proved, though, that they didn't have either. But more importantly, I think you just get guys who can play fast, whether they can shoot or whether or not, just guys that are good in the open court, and make that your play style. Just that's pretty much where I go with it.
So you're on board with the kind of play fast up tempo game that the Magic tried to play at the end of the season.
Yeah, I think it helped mask some of the weaknesses that they had offensively because they're able to get out in transition and score points. That helps a lot when you don't have any really good offensive players. I mean, Evan Fournier was realistically their best offensive player last year, and it's not like he did a great job, but he was being asked to do a lot more than he was capable of. So I think adding talent is definitely going to help, but definitely play up tempo to kind of hide your weakness a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's certainly the start. And while the Magic struggled a lot, I think a training camp is going to help them out a lot, kind of get their legs under them under that style that they didn't have last year. So I'm kind of in the camp. I guess I'm kind of in the camp of they played better than their stats showed at the end of the season. Because they essentially changed styles completely from the first half of the season to the second half of the season. I haven't done a lot of research into free agents. I don't know if any of you guys have yet. Is there anyone that you think, I mean, the Magic obviously have some limited funds to attack free agency. Are there any players that you think the Magic should be looking at in free agency? I know fans are going to say go after Blake Griffin. The Magic don't have max cap room. They're not going to be able to get a player like him. I mean, what kind of players, if any of you have looked at free agency, what kind of players should the Magic be looking to add to this group?
I mean,
anybody?
That's all you.
We can definitely count out the Magic getting anybody. Like you said, they're limited in terms of their cap space, so that automatically rules them out from max players. Besides that, I'm not expecting a lot to spend some money. I just hope that they don't players like Jeff Green. Like I hope that they go solid players who aren't gonna, go for home runs, but they're just gonna help the team. They're gonna fill in the gaps. Kind of the end of the draft players. I think that's the kind of players they need to look at in free agency too. Players who are going to a little bit. Players who can make some shots, even if they can't really create for others. I think that there should be some targets. They might have to overpay for them a little bit just because of the situation of the franchise right now, but I think that's a reasonable goal.
I got one.
I'll admit I don't have many specific players in mind.
How about Jonathan Simmons from the Spurs? I think that would be an interesting one. Like, I kind of like the idea of kind of what the Nets tried to do last year, where you kind of just take risks on young guys and hope that they get better. So, like, I don't know how much Simmons is going to go for. Like, I have no idea. I'm assuming not, like, all the Magic cap space, but I think that would be an interesting one of, like, a young guy who, like, works hard and has, like, a lot of upside.
I like that. Yeah, Jonathan Simmons for sure, too. And I just don't know how much he's going to cost. But, like, for me, I would definitely force the Wizards' hands and offer Otto Porter's contract as large as you could get, because I think he's the perfect fit for the kind of thing that the team needs as far as a small forward goes. But if you look at the rest of like the free agent list like this year, it's pretty not great for what the Magic need. Pablo Cephalosha might be somebody that they would look at as far as a wing that can play defense and shoot a little bit. But yeah, the free agent list this year is not really great for them.
Yeah, and I suspect that the Magic are going to be pretty active in the trade market once the draft comes around. They've obviously got multiple picks that they can kind of entice teams with. I think we all kind of recognize that this team, as currently constructed, is probably not going to get much better. Maybe if you brought, I'm of the belief that if you brought back this team back, the Magic aren't going to do that. But if you brought this team back as constructed now, they'd be better than 29 wins, but probably at like the 33, 34, 35 win mark, it'd just be back where they were 2 years ago. And obviously the team, I think, wants to getting a little bit better. Turn our attention a little bit more now to the draft more immediately. Talk a little bit about the picks and the scenarios that the Magic are going to be facing. For those who are just joining the podcast, I'm Philip Rossman-Reich of Orlando Magic Daily. I'm joined by Cory Hutson of Orlando Pinstripe Post, David Iwanowski of Orlando Magic Daily, and Zach Palmer of Orlando Magic Daily. People asked who was in the Google Hangout, so I'm trying to be responsive. I'm reading you guys. But specifically, a lot of people have talked that this is the best draft class since 2003. Zach, do you agree with that?
No. I mean, you watch, like, I like the players at the top end of the draft, but like there's a lot of flaws in the players, like big flaws in the players, and a lot of that has to do with the way the game has changed too. So like Jason Tatum a couple years ago, you're like, yeah, great, let's play him at the 3, and I'm watching him right now. I'm like, yeah, good luck trying to score against other 3s in the NBA. He'll be a 4. Like, I just don't see. And the same goes for Jonathan Isaac. Oh yeah, he's great. Can't wait to play him at the 4. Like, it's just too many. Lonzo Ball, I don't know if he can dribble. Malik Monk is small and can't play defense. I don't know. It's a tough draft class for me. Like, Markelle Fultz is great. Let's get number 1. That's where I'm at right now.
David, how do you assess the top of this draft before we start talking about some of the individual prospects in a little bit more detail?
Yeah, I completely agree with what Zach just said. And besides Fultz, there's no one that really strikes me as like a sure thing star. I mean, some of these guys have like a lot of upside, but they also like aren't sure things at all. So I think to compare it to the 2003 draft is kind of silly. Like even like 2015, probably like looking back on it might very well end up better. You know, the guys like Townsend, Porzingis, and Turner. I can't see how many guys in this draft are going to become that good. Maybe one, but yeah.
Cory, how do you assess this draft class and specifically the top of this draft as the Magic get ready to figure out where they're going to be picking in the next 30 minutes or so?
My big takeaway from what draft research I have done, I don't feel totally prepared yet as far as the specific guys, but at a glance, my biggest concern is that none of the high-end guys really seem like the perfect fit for the Magic. Aside from maybe Malik Monk, none of them like ace shooters. I feel like that's something the Magic could really use. There are players like Jason Tatum, who plays small forward and projects as maybe a good defender and has some athleticism. Yada yada. He's kind of filling the same role as Aaron Gordon, and I don't know those kinds of wings the Magic can keep taking without turning them into something. It feels like they've taken a lot of players like that. That's my biggest worry is that a perfect player for the Magic, but at the same time, or maybe they can turn into the perfect player for the Magic.
Yeah, and I think that's a fair assessment. I mean, we were talking a little bit before we came on the air about some of the draft prospects here. Sorry if I stepped on your toes there, Cory. It's technology. Cutting out on my end, but that's technology. But we were talking a little bit before we went on air here that it just feels like every single player has some flaw. If you follow me on Twitter at @OMagicDaily, I'll tell everyone I love Josh Jackson. I think he is a really, really smart basketball player and a really, really solid player. But we're at Kansas, I kind of think that might be where his future in this league is because his shot just isn't there. And especially for this Magic team, as much as I love his basketball smarts and his kind of basketball, like, sure, it's a good fit for this team, especially if you still believe in Aaron Gordon. If you don't believe in Aaron Gordon anymore, replacement. And it seems like each guy at the top of this draft, except for maybe Markelle Fultz, about him that makes you say this could be the thing that keeps him from being the breakaway star that certainly the Magic need. Let's start negative here. David, who to you is the biggest boomer bust in this draft? At the top of this draft.
Boomer bust? I would say, I don't know how much of a bust he's going to be, but I think there's a big variance in Lonzo Ball, honestly. I think Zach and I, when we've talked on this,
and by boomer bust, I mean
Twitter, we've kind of agreed on the same thing. He's not a good defender. He's not a great dribbler. He could pass well, and the big thing on him is that people say he has the it factor. But I don't know. Like, if you're picking a guy to be a future star, I don't know if like his number one strength should be the it factor from college, especially like losing in the Sweet 16 in the tournament too. Like, he must not have that much of the it factor. And every time he played against an NBA guard, he got killed. De'Aaron Fox. He couldn't even guard Jordan McLaughlin at the perimeter in the 3 games against Southern Cal. So obviously he has potential and he could become good. But I think there's a huge variance. So I definitely don't think he's a sure thing. So he's the one guy that I think, people need to be careful of their expectations for him.
Zach, who do you is, and by boomer bust, I kind of mean he's either going to be really good or really bad, and there probably isn't much of a between. Zach, who do you is kind of the guy that you want to kind of hit the pause button and make sure you do a lot of homework on because he kind of falls in that category?
I guess it's a little bit later in the lottery, but for me, like Frank Ntilikina from overseas, I watched him play, and I'm just not seeing a dude that's going to be able to play point guard in the NBA. Granted, there's only a limited tape available on him, so you can watch the games. That's pretty much where I'm getting all of the stuff I watch for him on. But he doesn't have great handles. He's got an excellent frame to be an outstanding defender. So there's a chance that he can just stick around with defense. But like if his shooting doesn't translate, and we've seen guys like Mario where somehow his shooting disappears and doesn't translate. If all Ntilikina's got left on him is just training to play defense, he could be a guy that's out of the league pretty quick. And then another guy too is Mark Cannon, and they're about looking at the same area. But Mark Cannon's probably going to be fine since he can shoot threes, like Brian Cook kind of could shoot threes even though he couldn't do anything else. So he'll probably be fine with that. But those are just two guys that I don't know if I see enough tools that's going to make them extremely useful players from where they're going to get picked.
Yeah, and that's Lauri Markkanen of Arizona, probably the best big man prospect. Maybe the best shooter in the draft. Although I think I lean on Malik Monk there as well. Someone on the YouTube channel is asking us who would we take with the first pick. I think we all agree that that's Markelle Fultz.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely.
Cory? Obviously it's going to be a Fultz or Ball type of draft, and that sounds dirtier than it is. But what differentiates Markelle Fultz from Lonzo Ball to you? Seen so far. Cory?
To me, I'm happier with Marco Fultz's playmaking. I'm concerned. Lonzo Ball is known for his shooting, but I'm actually kind of concerned about that. I think concerns about his shot mechanics are real. I do worry that he's not going to be able to get off his shot. And in that sense, I would agree that he's maybe a big boom or bust prospect as well. So in that sense, I just think that Fultz has a higher floor, I guess. Like, I'm more confident that he's going to succeed in the NBA than Ball is.
And I would agree with that as far as Markel Fultz goes.
In your analysis of him?
Yeah.
Sorry, say that again, Phil.
Oh, sorry. I was asking David, how much does Washington not winning play into your analysis of Fultz?
Not that much. I mean, like, they weren't a very good team, but that happens. It happened with Ben Simmons last year. If you watched Washington play, I don't think it was on him. It was kind of, they just weren't a very talented team. So I mean, I don't really think too much about team success for that.
Does it play a factor with you at all, Zach?
No, absolutely not. I mean, Dennis Smith Jr. has had the same problem, and like Dave was talking about, Ben Simmons had the same problem. So you have to have talent on your team. And I mean, like, you look at Lonzo Ball, like, oh, let's take his success in the factor. They win 30 games and they've got 3 dudes there going the first round, and then some other dudes that might get picked up, and other guys that are in school, they'll get drafted next year. So I don't think it's a huge deal if one person can't carry the whole team, especially if your coach is bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a fair analysis. I mean, Danny Granger, for instance, didn't go to the NCAA tournament in, 2-3 years at New Mexico? I mean, team success in college doesn't necessarily translate to team success in the pros. As a brief aside here, you're watching the Orlando Magic Daily Lottery Spectacular. The NBA Draft Lottery Show is getting set to begin on ESPN, so this is a good time to turn your TVs on to ESPN or not. Just watch us. We'll be reacting live as the lottery order is revealed. So I've got the TV on. You might see me on the YouTube channel. Look over to my left, your right. That's because I'm looking. I guess it's right. I don't know. That's because I'm looking at the lottery as it's happening on TV. I know some of our panel are watching on tape delay, so I'm going to try not to react when I see what's going on. But we'll have the lottery results as they happen. So if you don't have access to ESPN, you'll be able to watch us here. We'll be watching as it goes on too. One of the big questions, I mean, I guess the first place to Magic, let's kind of dive back into some of these prospects. We touched a little bit on Dennis Smith and some of the team struggles he had. He was in Orlando for a workout on Monday. Zach, what do you make of Dennis Smith Jr.? Where do you put him kind of in the draft pecking order since the Magic have brought him into the fold?
See, now, so that's my guy right there if the Magic don't get number 1, because I feel like for Smith, like the biggest knock on Smith is that he kind of just gave up on defense on his terrible team. But, like, you can see that this dude can create his own shot very consistently, and he's very good at making difficult shots. And if there's, like, one thing this team does not have any of, it's that. There's a couple of worries about his, like, jump shot mechanics and stuff like that. If he's set, he doesn't get momentum behind him. It's a little bit short, so he's going to have to work on that. But he's actually, last year, he had a great season. He was coming off an ACL tear. So you also expect to see him to become more explosive coming back and more confident coming back this upcoming year after a year off of ACL. So that's a guy I actually really like, and I almost want to put him as high as like number 2 on my board, but I'm afraid to just because, I mean, there's defense and there's also some questionable decision making that goes along with the tough shot making that he has to do consistently.
Yeah, David, I think when it came to the point guards, I mean, there's obviously a lot of great point guards in this draft, but Fultz and Ball go 1-2. The next 2 on that list are probably De'Aaron Fox and Dennis Smith. How do you rank those 2? Is Smith in Fox's neighborhood? Because obviously Fox kind of got a little bit more exposure with the NCAA tournament and had a fantastic NCAA tournament at that. But Smith was always kind of ahead of him, it seemed, before then. How do you rate those 2 players?
I've always liked Smith better. I'm really high on Smith as well. The thing with Fox is very good defender for at least for a college point guard, really athletic, but his jump shot is just bad. And like the Magic have already done the whole thing with the point guard who has no jump shot, and it didn't work for them. So I'm not sure if they should necessarily put Fox at all over Smith. Like Zach said, I think Smith is a very good player, especially coming off that injury. And the fact that NC State struggled was really not his fault. As someone who watched a ton of NC State games, I mean, he came out there ready to play most of the time and played well despite his teammates not being very good. So I think I personally have Smith above Fox, and Smith definitely higher than a lot of people do.
Yeah, and I'm actually, I think in that group too. The only question that I have, I guess, about the only question that I really have about Fox is he too similar to Elfrid Payton? Because obviously the Magic, like, they're ready to move on from Elfrid Payton, but are they too similar? I mean, Fox. When I was watching Fox at Kentucky, I always kind of viewed Fox as imagined Elfrid Payton would be, or could be, or should be. Who knows if that actually translates to the NBA? Zach, what are your opinions on De'Aaron Fox? Is that kind of the dividing line where it's like too soon to kind of spend this importantly big asset on?
And I guess here's the thing for me, like, because I was super low on De'Aaron Fox before I watched some more games of him recently. But the thing that separates him from Elfrid, that's a really key difference, he is a lot more athletic. Like, he's got another gear that Elfrid Payton doesn't have. So that gives him a lot of potential to potentially be a even go-to scorer in isolation if he can blow by guys and stuff like that. And Elfrid Payton's never going to be able to do. But I think the comment that you make, that are they too similar for a team that struggled because their pieces don't fit, I think that is a very legitimate concern, and one of the really large reasons why is for the Magic I would take that over De'Aaron Fox. That the skill set as of right now is too similar to make sense for the Magic.
Yeah, I mean, and that's going to be, I think, wrapped up in this draft. Is it feels like a lot of this roster is going to be back just because of the cap situation that the team is in. But do you draft a player that fits the roster you have, or do you kind of just take the best player available and begin to reshape the roster around him? We touched about that a little bit earlier in the hour, but is that the direction the Magic should go? Obviously, I think we all agree they should just take the best player available, unless it bumps into Aaron Gordon too much. But even then, do you take a player that maybe bumps into Aaron Gordon too much and kind of start kind of lopping off parts of the roster from there?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's probably the way to go. There's just not enough must-keep players on the roster right now. A lot of that comes down to whether you have confidence in the organization to develop them. I think that's been a big problem in recent years, is that nobody on the team has really exceeded expectations. So maybe from that perspective, I don't know really how you answer this question, but maybe you say, I want the Magic to take the player likely able to develop. I don't know what that player looks like. I don't know if it has something to do with Vogel, what kind of players he's done well developing. Maybe you target players similar to that. But overall, though, I would agree that talent is the biggest indicator, not so much fit right now.
Yeah, and I think that might be the way to go. Obviously, this team needs a huge talent upgrade after winning only 29 games last season. ESPN broadcast is on its first commercial, so I don't know if they're coming back and beginning the lottery reveal. So I want to kind of take a step aside from the top prospects for just a moment and talk a little bit about the other scenarios that are involved in this lottery, specifically the Lakers pick. I know there's a lot of questions about the Los Angeles Lakers pick and why it's important. Essentially, it's this. Back in 2012, the Orlando Magic acquired a future first-round pick from the Los Angeles Lakers in the Dwight Howard trade. Because of an NBA rule, it's called the Stepien rule. A team cannot trade away its first-round pick in multiple years. You can look on Wikipedia for the reasons why. It's always Cleveland's fault. Just remember that. So the Lakers, earlier in that summer, had traded 2 first-round picks to the Phoenix Suns. So one of those picks was then dealt by Phoenix to Philadelphia as part of the Brandon Knight trade. That's the complicated part. So the Lakers essentially owe a first-round pick to the Sixers and then owe a first-round pick to the Magic. Here's where things get tricky, though. The protections that Rob Hennigan and the Lakers at the time agreed to pick a top 3 protected pick in 2017 and then a completely unprotected pick in 2019. If that pick is not conveyed before 2019, it turns into 2 second-round picks. So the Magic then would get a 2017 and a 2018 second-round pick from the Lakers. And that's why this year it's very important that the Lakers convey that pick to the Sixers, because if the Lakers don't convey that pick to the Sixers this year, that means they convey an unprotected pick to the Sixers next year and thus cannot convey a pick to the Magic in 2019. Nuts and bolts of it is, and outside the top 3 Sixers, that means the Magic get a 2019 first-round pick from the Lakers. That's why it's important. If the Lakers end up in the top 3 today, and they currently have the 3rd best odds at winning the lottery, so if everything goes chalk, they finish 3rd, send a second-round pick this year and a second-round pick next year to the Magic. So the Magic potentially could have 4 picks, 5, and actually they're explaining it on ESPN right now as I'm talking about this. Getting ready to introduce the representatives, Frank Vogel's representing. Let's say that the Magic do get 4 draft. Cory, if you're back, Cory. Going twice.
Oh.
Cory, you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you all hear me?
Yeah.
I can hear you. Sorry, technology is fun. Cory, if the Magic get 4 picks in the top 35, what should they do with these picks? Is there the possibility, should the Magic think about trading a couple of these picks to move up in the draft a little bit?
That is definitely an option, and when you have multiple picks kind of grouped together like that, that is kind of a natural thing to do with them, is that you can, bundle them together to move up. I don't know how far they can realistically move up. I don't know what value you should expect for, picks 25 plus 33 or whatever combination it is. But my guess is that they might make one trade with those lower picks. I don't think the higher ones they're going to do anything with. I think that if they don't make any picks, then they'll probably follow a plan like you suggested before, where they're going to take the best player available on the high end and then kind of try to fill out the roster with the low end, as opposed to, say, taking flyers or something like that.
Sounds good. And David, they're actually getting ready to introduce the representatives right now. David, if the Magic get 35, what do you do? Do you use all 4, or do you try and trade a few of them?
They could trade up, but honestly, they could use 4 young players on cheap contracts to fill up their roster. They don't really have that much talent, so might as well. I'd be cool with them totally keeping all those picks.
Zach, what would you do? What would you do with 4 rookies? Do you bring 4 rookies into camp, or do you try and change things up a little bit?
Oh yeah, I'm definitely bringing 4 rookies into camp, and for the later picks, I'm picking dudes that were probably closer to 4-year players that produce and can play a role right away to help out this bench, because they need it badly. And you can see how Malcolm Brogdon helped out the Bucks last year. You can usually find guys like that in the second round if they're looking for guys that are going to be role players and not stars.
All right, and the NBA draft lottery is getting set to begin, or the reveal is getting set to begin. They're introducing the representatives right now. They're up to the New York Knicks, so Walt Frazier's there. It's time for the visual aid. I showed this to everyone here. This is my big board here with the NBA draft lottery order. You can see starting here with the Miami Heat, going all the way, snaking all the way up here to the Boston Celtics is your NBA draft order. So if you aren't watching on ESPN, I will be following along on my big board. Yes, this is a real thing that I've owned for 20 some odd years now. So it is real. It is beautiful. You can see the original Orlando Magic logo, by far the best thing ever made. You can see the original Atlanta Hawks Pac-Man logo somewhere around here. There it is. You can see the Seattle Supersonics logo. If I put it somewhere, there it is over there on way off the screen. And so we're waiting now for the draft lottery results. Feel free to guys to comment whenever you see something fun on the screen. I'm going to try and stay at least a little bit quiet here, since I know some of you are tad behind. Frank Vogel on the dais there. Everyone like his summer beard? That's the most important question.
I don't know. I like it. It kind of reminds me of Rob Hennigan's beard before he gets depressed and fired. So I don't know if that's the way I'd want to go. It's all right. Good for Frank. Live his dreams, I guess.
Go for Cory.
I was gonna say I have no objections to the summer beard. I am all for that.
Is the summer beard? While we're talking about hair, Evan Fournier's gone blonde. I'm not kidding. I've seen it. It is a strange sight.
So I'm behind you guys on the stream, and I just saw his beard, and he looks kind of like like the older version of Tobias Funke from the most recent version of West Revolver.
Oh man. Friends of Devin Booker. Yeah, so we got damn, that's
so
if you have any Tobias Funke, Frank Vogel memes, now is the time. So obviously we're getting ready for the NBA draft lottery. This is going to be the boring part if you're listening on the podcast, because we'll go kind of quiet. This is kind of the show and tell part here on the YouTube channel. Trying to follow along. I'm sure some of you have ESPN on. Will comment as things happen. Hopefully we're not too far behind each other here. I will react live. We'll have reaction after the lottery ends on where the Magic pick. Probably talk a little bit about it during the commercial as well, depending on what happens. I guess, what's there left to say? Pat Williams has done his magic. It's time to see what happens. What's your gut feeling, everybody?
Lakers are going to keep their pick. Let's be real.
Yeah, that's my gut too. I think Lakers keep their pick. Magic get bumped down to 6th. That'll be my random prediction.
I think I'll go the same thing. Lakers keep their pick, but I actually had a dream a couple weeks ago where the Magic got pick number 3, which doesn't really help, but I'll just go with it.
I am feeling good. I won an NBA 2K My Team on an alley-oop earlier today, so I am feeling quite lucky. The Lakers will probably give up their pick, but the Magic will probably stay 5th. Can the Magic stay 5th?
No,
Magic will jump up over the Lakers and get to 3. How about that?
I like it.
I'd be cool with that.
I'm an optimist. If you have any questions for the show, you can drop them in the live. Will probably be kind of quiet here as the lottery gets revealed on TV. You can see Pat Williams now on the television screen. He is, of course, the Magic's resident lucky charm, having won the lottery 3 times already. So if anyone, I get annoyed when people say the lottery is rigged, because why the heck would they make the Magic win it 3 times if it's rigged, especially to win Shaq? Yeah, well, I guess this is the boring part of the show. This is the part where looking at the big board. They don't do Mark Tatum anymore. That makes me sad. Oh no, he's the security. Okay, so Tatum. Sorry, I am a big fan of deputy commissioners. They are my favorite people. Long live Russ. He should be doing the second round for all eternity. Hopefully Ernst & Young got the envelopes right this time. And so the NBA draft lottery is ready to be revealed, it looks like. Oh, no, they're going to go to commercial, because that's how ESPN does. We got a commercial. Yeah, so, we all said if the Magic picked first, we'd both take Fultz. The Magic goes second. We all go Ball? We all go Lonzo Ball?
Probably, but I don't want them to. I don't want to have to deal with that. I don't think I could handle it.
You don't like LeVar? You don't like the big baller brand, Cory?
I love LeVar. I hope he goes to like New York or even like
I'm
Boston
more
or
at
something.
a
Just so he
safe
deals with that
distance.
media all the time.
When does the big baller brand network begin? Like, we know he's getting a TV deal somewhere.
Oh, please. Fox.
I would give anything for him to join First Take and replace Max Kellerman. No offense to Max Kellerman, but yeah, that would be gold.
So I guess, I mean, every draft kind of has a place where it really begins. I guess this draft really begins at 3. Let's say the Magic end up 3rd, and Fultz and Ball are off the board. Who do you take at 3 if you're the Orlando Magic?
I go Dennis Smith.
Oh, wow. Going high with Dennis
That's
Smith.
quite the reach.
I'm not high on Josh Jackson, and the Magic definitely need a point guard. I'll go Dennis Smith.
Zach, who are you going with at 3?
I want to go Dennis Smith, but I'll actually take Josh Jackson just because I think he's a small forward. The Magic needs small forward.
Cory, what direction do you go?
I think I like Jason Tatum a little bit more than Josh Jackson. I don't know if that's – but just I have a gut feeling that I just like him more. I like his stat profile. I like that he gets at least a steal in the block every game. That's something that usually carries over to the NBA level. That's something that has a pretty high correlation as opposed to some other stats. The like stuff that happened with Josh Jackson, the like off-court incidents, they kind of like put me off a little bit. I don't like that stuff as much. So I lean a little bit toward Jason Tatum.
Okay.
For the record, I'd also be super cool with Tatum or Isaac at 3.
We did not really talk about Jonathan Isaac a lot. I mean, I think if the Magic fall, he's kind of in their range. Quickly, David, what do you like about Jonathan Isaac that has you kind of mentioning him here at the top?
I mean, he's really tall and really long, and he has kind of guard skills, but he could also defend a lot of positions, and he can allow the Magic to go small and play more modern. Jonathan Sharks wrote about like possibly playing him even at the 5. Hopefully he gets like a little bit stronger, but just all of the options they could have with him, I think would be great.
Yeah, obviously very versatile player. People have likened him to Kevin Durant. That's insane. But he does show the ability to maybe get NBA range. If he can develop a 3-point shot, he could be really interesting. He seemed a little passive to me at Florida State, but I think that's a product of being a freshman. Everyone at the top of this draft is a freshman, so I think he takes some of things with a grain of salt and realize that they can indeed get better. Here we go. NBA draft lottery is beginning. We're at the 14th pick. So follow along. Probably not have my pen. He traveled all that way to get the 14th pick, and the Heat don't even have their pick next year. Denver Nuggets are 13th, so we are still chalk. Everyone loved the faux back Pistons logo, correct?
Yeah. It was better than what it was, so we'll go with it.
th pick goes to the Charlotte Hornets, which means the Sacramento Kings will keep their pick. They had a top 10 protected pick going to the Chicago Bulls.
That epic protected pick that they managed to hold on to.
Dave Yeager looked so sad.
When they said 0% chance of winning the lottery, that was hilarious.
The Kings are due to pick 8th, but this pick would go to the New Orleans Pelicans, I believe. The Pelicans are moving up.
No. That's the Sixers. The Sixers get swapped, don't they?
The Sixers get to swap that pick. That's right.
Oh, my God.
Oh, my God.
No, I think the Pelicans would keep their pick if it's top 3, and the Sixers can swap.
Top 3 protected.
It's top 3.
The Kings.
Yeah, so the Pelicans would keep their pick if it's. Did you say it's top 3? I mean,
here comes the Magic spot at 6. Oh, now I'm getting nervous. Magic will pick 6th in the NBA draft, everybody, which is statistically where they were supposed to pick. So the team that gets to jump is the Sacramento Kings, which the Philadelphia 76ers, and the Sixers look like Sacramento Kings 5th. I don't get how that works. That's Philadelphia's pick. So Philadelphia jumps, so the Lakers are losing their pick.
Yes. Are you serious?
There we go.
The Lakers are losing their pick. But Philly's in the top 3. Philly's got 2 picks in the top 3 now. Don't they know?
God. One of them at least. Depending on
The 4th pick in the NBA draft goes to the Phoenix Suns. The Magic do not get the pick.
Oh,
It's Brooklyn, LA, and Philadelphia. So as we go to commercial here, the Celtics, the Lakers, and the Sixers are in line for the.
It's all rigged. It's all rigged.
Disaster. It's not an A, obviously. Has Pat Williams' luck ran out?
Well, I thought he ran out when we got Mario Hezonja at 5, so yeah. I'll say it.
They need to. I love you, Pat, but
They should have signed Taylor Hall, Mr. Lottery, in the NHL.
Picking 6th. John Weisbrod. We should bring John Weisbrod back. The Magic are picking 6th. I'm trying to think here. What options does that leave them? They're probably. I mean, obviously now Fultz, Ball, Jackson, probably Tatum are off the board.
Dennis Smith Jr.
We're looking at
Dennis Smith Jr. every time, all the time.
Dennis Smith
Only
Jr.
Dennis Smith Jr.
The 1-for-1 on workouts, apparently. Look, I mean, I would say the Magic are probably now picking between, depending on how high Darren Fox goes. We'll throw Darren Fox, Malik Monk, Dennis Smith Jr., and probably Jonathan Isaac might be in there too. We all kind of agree Lauri Markkanen is out.
Yeah.
I don't think any of us seem very
Hard pass.
hard pass on Markkanen. So between obviously with where the Magic are picking now, who do you like at that pick? If Fox is available, do you jump on him now, or do you kind of or does that mean that Smith jumped up too high, or Scott? There's so many scenarios here. Yeah, I don't know what to say. I'm kind of speechless here on what happened. Anybody?
I think the main takeaway here is that the folks will be out in force on Twitter talking about the Magic winning that last game instead of losing, because the Sixers
that's right.
from 4th jumped up instead of
actually that's not true. The Kings jumped up. The Sixers are picking ahead of the Magic.
Oh yes,
I think.
Yeah, you're totally right. That's a very good call.
So the win on the last day of the season did not mean anything.
Yes. Okay.
Karma has not won the day, but tanking certainly not either. The Sacramento Kings pick jumped, and the Sixers had a pick swap with that. So it's actually Sacramento, LA, Brooklyn, Boston, in that top 3.
So the Sixers have 2 top 5 picks no matter what then, right? That's what's happening right now?
Yes.
Without the Lakers falling out, they have 2 top 5 picks.
They have 1 top 5, have only 1 pick. They had a pick swap. They don't have an extra pick.
Didn't the pick that the
Lakers
pick that the Pelicans gave up to the Sixers will able to be swapped, right?
Pelicans.
Was it just a swap? Is that what it is?
Oh, Jesus. Oh, dang. Sorry, I just completely spaced here. They came back. Your lottery order is Boston, LA, Philadelphia.
So Boston got the first pick?
So the Kings pick is the one that jumped up to 1st.
I believe so. The Kings pick is the one that jumped up to 1st.
The legacy of
or to third.
Oh, to 3rd.
Is that Tyrus Thomas?
Sacramento's picking 5th, which is what Philadelphia would be picking.
Oh my.
Lonzo Ball is going to the Lakers. It's going to be a bloodbath.
I'm so excited for that.
By the way, this is like, I agree with having a lottery, but this is such a silly way to do things.
I don't understand why, like, if you want to discourage tanking, like, you should be making it so the odds are changed, so that's more like people are able to bounce up more. I don't know. It seems like if that's what you're trying to do, that would have come.
They need to probably balance out the odds. My idea was to do a full lottery, get top odds. The top odds have the belt, And so if you have the most ping balls and you don't get that first pick, you could end up like 9, 10, 11, and it totally messes you up. That's my crazy lottery fix idea.
That's a lot of gladiatorial style destruction of bad teams. Right?
Yeah, I know. Markelle Fultz. We're going to close out here probably in the next 5 minutes or so. But do the Celtics take Markelle Fultz?
Yeah.
David, what do you think?
I think so. They're going to go with the best player available. Maybe that means in like 2 years or whenever Isaiah's contract is up, maybe they'd be looking to trade him or not bring him back. But I think they go with the best player available, potential star with Fultz.
Cory, do you think Boston goes with Fultz
as opposed to trading it?
As opposed to doing something else with it.
Right. Yeah, I think they probably draft him. They've had a lot of opportunities to trade that pick up till now, unless they really get like a killer offer, or unless something happens in that Cavs series that really makes them like reassess their existence. I think they're just gonna take the top player and settle for being very, very good for a long time.
Yeah,
that's probably a good result.
Yeah, it's Boston's probably in a dream right now because they could probably maybe sneak it if they wanted it. At the end of the day, the odds kind of fell where they were. The Magic picked where projected to pick. The odds were that they would pick sixth. I think now that the team has a better idea of what their options are. When you look, as we close out the show here, Zach, when you look at the options, we talked a little bit about them kind of informally, but now that we're trying to digest this, how do you like the Magic's options at 6? Are they going to get the kind of player that they need?
I think that if you pick Dennis Smith or Jonathan Isaac, I think you're doing yourself a favor. I think De'Aaron Fox is going to jump Dennis Smith as far as the rankings go. There's a lot of hype behind De'Aaron Fox right now, so I think he'll probably go ahead of him. So I think if you pick one of those two guys, it could work out. Jonathan Isaac's more of a project, so he could probably play the 3 right now as a starter, and he's an additional ball handler that you could have in the starting lineup. Not like I'd want to put it in his hands all the time, but he's capable. But Dennis Smith Jr. is definitely the guy I'd be targeting right now, especially if you're looking to move on from Elfrid Payton. So that's where I would go with it.
David, how are you liking the Magic's position here at 6?
Yeah, you could tell earlier when you guys asked who I'd pick third that I don't really think there's much of a difference between, say, like the 2 and 7 in the draft. So it's not the end of the world. I think the Lakers pick thing is the bigger deal. Like you guys said, Smith, okay. I think would be a good pick there. If any of those wings are around, like I said before, like a Tatum, maybe he falls. Probably not. But even like Johnny Isaac would be a good pick, I think. But I don't think it's that big of a deal that they're picking 6 as opposed to whatever 3, 5, even 2. Honestly.
Yeah, I think this like that at the top. Cory,
I kind of like the idea of taking Monk. Maybe he changes in the. At 6. I kind of like the idea of them taking Monk just because I like the idea of them taking a really good shooter. That's something that they've desperately searched for many years now. But I'm pretty sure they're just going to take whoever they think is the best overall player, regardless of position. So I wouldn't even be shocked if they take someone like Lauri Markkanen if they really think that he's the best player. But personally, I think I like Malik Monk the best of guys in that range. Jonathan Isaac or Dennis Smith would be fine too.
Yeah, I'd be cool with Monk.
Yeah. I think if this decision comes down to Smith or Monk, and obviously going to develop more as we got a little bit more than a month before the draft. If it comes down to Smith or Monk, I think that's going to be probably a good thing for the Magic. I think that those are players that can contribute pretty quickly. They may not be kind of the superstar, all-star players that most people are hoping for when you get into the lottery, but the day when you look at this, exactly where the odds said they would. So I don't know how you can be super upset. You're not Sacramento. Even Sacramento came out like bandits in this lottery. Philly Phoenix is the big loser, as is New York. Really, New York is a big loser in this lottery too. The Magic are kind of where they're at. They're going to get the 33rd pick in this draft too, so they're there to maybe package 25, 33 and 35 into something, whether it's another player, whether it's moving up in the draft or whatever the case may be. They could certainly package that with other players. So there's definitely there's definitely plenty of opportunity here for the Magic to make some more immediate gains. Obviously, I think a lot of people would have preferred that the Magic keep the 2019 first-round pick because first-round picks are more valuable than second-round picks. But this is a deep draft. I think when people talk about how good this draft is, they're not talking necessarily about how good it is at the top, although it's very good. They're also talking about the depth. There are some good players that the Magic can get in that 25 to 35 range, and they're going to have 3 picks in that area. We're going to close out today's show. We've been going on for a little while. This, of course, will be posted on the Locked On Magic iTunes feed, so you can subscribe to the podcast and listen back to it on iTunes, Audio, and Stitcher, TuneIn, all the fun places you download podcasts to your podcast-enabled listening device. On the horn, who's meeting in the NBA Finals? Cory?
The Magic out of nowhere. RKO something, WrestleMania reference. You like that, Phil, right?
Yes. RKO out of nowhere.
The Cavs and the Warriors.
Warriors. David, who you got in the meeting in the finals here as we're waiting game 2 of the Western Conference Finals?
You've known all along. Everyone was trying to get cute and saying the Cavs are in trouble. Oh, KD might be hurt. They might not go. Spurs are looking good. They beat Houston without Kawhi. We all knew what it was going to be. I could see both the Cavs and Warriors sweeping, going 12-0 and meeting in the finals.
Zach, save us from some chalk. Please.
My prediction is actually the Spurs are going to come back and win the series. My man Dwayne Dedmon's going to get in there, and he's going to bully people. He is going to just bully the Warriors into submission, and then it'll be Spurs in 7 after he beats up like Draymond Green and Steph Curry and knocks them out of the next 4 or 5 games. And then the Cavs are going to beat the Celtics, even though Marcus Smart is going to try to throw the clamps on LeBron. It'll be good to watch.
Yeah, Dwayne Dedmon for Finals MVP would be my favorite universe to live in.
That's the dream.
That's the dream. I want to thank you guys for coming on the show here for our 2017 NBA Draft Lottery Spectacular. The Magic, once again, with the 6th pick. Starting with Zach, tell everyone where they can find you on the Twitters.
At former Tank Commander on Twitter, and that might be soon to change now that we're done tanking and didn't even get the first pick again. I'm heartbroken. So, throw me suggestions if you guys want.
Continuing Tank Commander. David, where can people find you on the Twitters?
At David Iwan1. Yeah.
And Cory, you're the odd man out here. You're in enemy territory. Where can people find you on the Twitters, and what do you have going up on Orlando Pinstripe Post?
So I'm at Professor Cory on Twitter. About the lottery coming up, certainly, and we'll have plenty of draft coverage coming up. And then also I've got a big thing about the season recap coming up. Really consciousness dive into how I feel about the Magic. So that should be interesting.
That should be on Sartre levels of existentialism, if it's any good. You can of course find me on Twitter at OMagicDaily. You can follow the podcast on Twitter at Locked On Magic. Be sure to give us a like at Locked On Magic. I hope everyone enjoyed the show. We won't be doing this for the draft because I'll be at the Magic's viewing party to watch the draft there. But coming up on OrlandoMagicDaily.com. The NBA Draft Lottery is done. Their top 3, the Boston Celtics, the Los Angeles Lakers, the Philadelphia 76ers. The Orlando Magic will draft 6th. I'll be back again tomorrow on another episode of Locked On Magic. For Zach, David, and Cory, I want to thank you all for watching. We will see you all again tomorrow on another episode of Locked On Magic.
See ya.
Have a good night, folks.
Yep. Have a good one, guys.
You guys are good to leave if you want. I think we're